Evening session, we are lined up an array of inventors, scientists, entrepreneurs, not only from India, from across the globe. To begin with, on the future tech sessions of the evening, first we have Professor Raghav Verma. He has achieved so much already in his field of application and research and publications. In a short, I will be able to, I'm trying to uh, cover what he has achieved so far and introduce him. Professor Raghav Verma, he's did master's and PhD in physics from IIT Kanpur. He spent a year at Tata Institute of Fundamental Research as a visiting fellow. He spent 3 years as research associate at State University of New York, Stony Brook. He joined IIT Bombay as assistant professor, and he is also a scientific associate at Geneva, Switzerland. Professor Verma is an experimental nuclear and particle physicist and has more than 400 publications to his credit. The key subject that Professor Verma is going to present is on the future technology in wastewater applications. We all know that the wastewater application has evolved over decades from the conventional activated sludge process, the moving bed bioreactors, the sequential batch reactors, and then the membrane bioreactors. As we go along the evolution of wastewater applications, the product water became more pure and pure, and it occupied lesser and lesser footprints. Now, what next? That's where Professor Verma has come in with superconducting electron accelerator. These superconducting electrons directly addresses the contamination in the effluent, the bacteria, and then he has collaborated with the Japanese technology and ready to launch. I consider Professor Verma like an aircraft now, completed the taxiing, waiting at the edge of the runway to take off. So I invite Professor Verma to give a presentation of his innovation and how he's ready to launch the next generation of application in wastewater. Professor Verma. You're on mute.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Professor.
So the topic of today, my lecture today is accelerating forward to clean rivers. And I would begin by a quote from Mark Twain that Banaras is older than history, older than tradition, older even than legend, and looks twice as old as all of them put together. And therefore, there are countries which are spending for a building for their heritage. Our whole city is a heritage. And so we are all custodians of that heritage. And this is a very small attempt to restore the lost glory of Varanasi, spelt in Pali as Banarasi, from which probably the name Varanasi originated. So what is this? We want to develop the first of its kind high-intensity compact superconducting electron accelerator in collaboration with scientists from Japan, which will fit into narrow bylanes of Varanasi to transform the landscape, and has many other societal benefits, which I'll touch in the last slide. And what it will do is, these are some of the pictures of the Assi River emptying its content into the Ganges. And we would like to put a compact superconducting accelerator and make it a river at the bottom. So I'm very thankful to the Alumni Association IIT BHU for giving me this chance to present something which has I have been interested for last 1 decade. And I would be presenting it on behalf of my students who have done most of the work. Pankaj Kumar, Manisha Meena, Anjali Kaur, and Pragya Nama. And though I'm from Bombay, but मैं हूँ essentially छोरा गंगा किनारे वाला ही. So this idea was, I was going. This thing is to use the international goodwill and expertise that I have developed for last 35 years for the benefit of our nation. And the seed for this idea came from the International Linear Collider, which Japan wants to build with the aid of the world scientific community. ILC is a sequel to the Large Hadron Collider, which you may have heard is in CERN, Geneva, and which discovered the Higgs boson. So ILC is a 31-kilometer long accelerator which will collide electron and positron, initially at the energy of 250 GeV and later upgradable to 1 tera electron volts to probe the heart of matter. For our purpose, it consists of RF cavity, radio frequency cavities, magnets, cryocoolers, and vacuum pump. The idea is that we can study the property of Higgs boson, which was discovered at LHC, much better because you will be colliding two elementary particles, electron and positron, instead of composite particles, the protons at LHC. So the heart of the system is the radio frequency cavity and is the key element of an accelerator which stores electromagnetic energy and imparts it to the charged particles. There are two kinds of cavities, normal and superconductivity. Superconducting, the ILC foresees around 20,000 9-cell cavity as shown here in the figure, and they can increase the energy of the electron by 34 million volts in 1 meter of length. And all the points that I mentioned are very important for the application that we have in mind for this. They have been widely tested for stable running for more than a decade. The Japanese have perfected the art. They are very compact and very energy efficient. And these cavities have been optimized for heat losses and also for from wall to accelerator power, because the accelerator has to run round the clock, round the year for several years. So all these things have been optimized, and this would be very essential for the application that we have in mind, which I quote below. Use a similar cavity of in length and similar dimension in phi, and make a superconducting high-intensity accelerator which can accelerate electrons up to 1 to 2 MeV to treat the effluents flowing into our rivers. So the system becomes very compact, which I come to. Without wasting any more time, I come to the topic at hand, and that is pollution in the Ganges. It is well known. I will not, due to shortage of time, I will not go over it, that mainly it's the domestic and the industrial effluents which are flowing into the Ganga. And Asti is a particular case. I showed pictures which have been taken last year. And these are some of the parameters labeled at the bottom right of the screen, which show that the dissolved oxygen, the bio-oxygen demand, the chemical oxygen demand, they are all way above what is normally accepted by the Green Tribunal. And what is really worrisome is the fecal coliform, which the permissible limit is 500. It should be lesser. And it is 88,000 in Banaras. And by the time Ganga reaches Howrah, it becomes more than 2.5 lakhs. Now, when I performed the last rite of my father, I did take a dip there. And if you take a dip with such a high coliform, you are very likely to develop antibiotic resistance, which would lead to serious health hazards. So this needs to be tackled immediately. However, these pollution or treating water in an efficient and a more better way is not limited to only developing economies or a country like ours. There are contaminants of emerging concern, and as Dr. Ramamurthy presented, there are in developed economies too. And what is worrisome is that small amount of the CEC class, these contaminants of emerging concern, have been found out very far from the source of the pollution. So they have, and even a small amount of this would lead to serious health hazard. So now we need a different way. I will not go over it. These are some of the products which people all over the globe use, and these are present even in developed economy. This is a paper from Switzerland, and which is a very advanced nation. The present pandemic has also demonstrated, very amply demonstrated, that the security, welfare, and the economics of the nation would be determined by the health of its citizens. It doesn't need more emphasis than this. And the water situation in our country, we observed day 0 in Madras last year in May and June for several days. There was no water in the tap. So demands immediate attention. So what is the purpose? Just to repeat, even at the cost of repetition, we want to remove harmful impurities such as COD, BOD, suspended solids. We want to, if this is from industrial, color, odor, ASSI. If you go to near Sankat Mochan, there is also odor, also TN, TP compounds. It has here for the ASSI River or for the narrow bylanes, one of the main this thing would be disinfect disease-causing microorganisms, E. coli and other pathogens, and destroy endocrine disruptors which are present in natural as well as man-made chemicals. So we are looking for our nation, we are looking for a technique which is compact, efficient, and can treat large amount of water in a cost-effective way. And broadly speaking, in the emerging class of this thing, there are 3 types of advanced treatment processes. One can guess also, we are all engineers and scientists, that you could oxidize the biodegradable waste, you could reduce them, and the emerging class are now advanced oxidation reduction process, from which I talk further. In this, the X-rays could be used, the ultraviolet rays, gamma rays, and electron beams. So the first one has only oxidizing agent, which is hydroxyl radicals. The second one has hydrogen atom in nascent form or hydrogen radicals, and the third one has both of them. In any chemical, you can either have an oxidizing agent or a reducing agent. Only in advanced oxidation reduction processes, which are based on ionizing the water, you will have both oxidizing and reducing agent, and hence it's common sense that they would work better than the first two. So here, just quickly going over these are the conventional water treatment facilities. Bioremediation has come. Also, I have not listed it because it is a green process, but with the temperature varying from 0 to 50 degrees, one has to fine tune it, and it's not so effective if you want to treat the coliform. And I don't want to go over it for a shortage of time, but if you see the row on advantages and the row on disadvantages, each one of them comes with a baggage. And that baggage cannot be just, you solve one place and you disturb another. Some of them generate carcinogenic waste, which could be harmful too, and otherwise, which are just sent to the landfill. So we are creating problems for future. So let's talk of these AORP or advanced oxidation reduction processes. Ionization radiation is an electromagnetic wave with a frequency higher than 10 to 17 hertz or energy greater than a few electron volts, so that the water can be ionized. It can be excited or it can be ionized. The excited water gives you hydrogen radical and hydroxyl radical. The ionized gives you, again, hydroxyl radicals and aqueous electron, as we call hydrated electron. So hydrated electron and hydrogen atom serve as reducing agents, and hydroxyl radical and hydrogen peroxide, which is formed after the combination, gives you hydrogen peroxide. They act as oxidizing agent. So the G value determines how much such radicals would be produced and whether you use a chemical or radiation. And normally it is seen that the G value for these advanced oxidation reduction processes are much greater than the conventional oxidation processes. So they'll be more effective. So why an electron beam accelerator? First of all, it's an eco-friendly technology. There is no secondary waste generation. We don't need any catalyst and heating. It is compact, reliable, energy efficient, and you can switch it on and switch it off as you wish. You can also use this to need for chemicals such as chlorine. As I said, it is chemical-less, so that is much better. It removes organic impurities with radiation chemical reactions. It removes color by destruction of double bonds in azo compounds. It removes odor by opening rings in aromatic compounds. The E. coli, the DNA is destroyed, so there is no question of it mutating. It is completely, nearly 100% destruction has been found, and endocrine disruptors are removed. It removes metal by redox conversion, so they take a metallic form, settle down, and you can sedimentate. So I again won't go into the details. This is a very, very busy this thing, and there's just no time. So the first column, there are a class of these things which are effluents which are present in either domestic or industrial effluents. And have a look at the rightmost column, which is removal. Some with higher dose, some with lower dose, you can reduce almost about 90%. The thing that I should make clear here is that if you combine a conventional treatment with electron beam, things work best. Oops. So I will just present one that the example. There are many that commercially also and for sustainability also, it stands to reason that we should use the electron beam rather than. So this is a commercial plant design for wastewater from paper mill in Korea. And the major product is newspaper. And it uses about 18 mLDs of water per day. And they were using one was coagulation and then bioremediation. And they could reduce the BOD and COD to 20 and 45, which is slightly higher than what National Green Tribunal their demand. So what they did was they combined it with an electron accelerator, which is numbered as 5, and then they have a sedimentation which is numbered at 6, and they could reach the BOD and COD level to 5 and 20. And the flow rate became, with a flow rate of 15,000 meter cube per day, they had to put 3 electron beam accelerators, a total power of 300 kilowatt, but they could recycle 70 to 80% of the water, making the process very green. And the additional removal of impurities was up to 80% in total organic compounds. And the next slide shows that you can have your cake and eat it too, because they claim that the investment will be returned in 5 years. So all the cost of constructing it, which includes the cost of the equipment, cost of running, they could get back it in just 5 years, and then they, you get much better quality water. You can circulate much more. And the paper is from a reference, so I don't need to go further on it. This is just a cost of comparison with other treatment facilities, and this is with electron normal conducting. Now we are talking of superconducting. So this is again the study which has been done, and if you look at the cost of electron beam is the lowest per meter cube, and the cost of the BOD COD content is comparable, and as the cost. But if you combine it with another conventional process, normally it has been seen that one can get much better results. So there are worldwide water treatment plants with electron beams. But these are, and there are so many of them I saw over the years. The first study started in the US and then it has spread, but it has not spread very fast. Why? Because these normal conducting accelerators they become very large. The size, you need very high power to make it economically viable. So the size becomes large, and when you make the size large, the reliability suffers. Then the cost of shielding, these are radiation, very high, 40 kilowatts or 300 kilowatts. So you have to shield it. So the cost of shielding goes proportionately high. And then the footprint becomes very large. So it will not be able, for our country, like the river, if you have been to a river, if you have seen it in there, it will not fit there. So footprints become large. And in any case, right now with space available at a premium, it always helps to save as much footprint as possible. So I am not making any claim that I am reinventing the wheel. But I saw a problem in the country, so we are making an attempt to use just top of the shelf technology for urgent societal needs of our nation. So this is our conceptual prototype of a purification system. This is the way you design this cavity, superconducting cavity, which has already been done at IIT Bombay. The fabrication, we don't have such facilities. And normally for superconducting, because they have been optimized for heat losses, the total heat budget that they quote is about 4 to 6 watt. Commercially, you have available, cryo coolers at 2 watts, now 4 watt, and now even 8 watts are available. So we can, by the switch, turn of a switch, we can make, because if we had to use liquid helium, then this would not have made too much sense, because the footprint would have become larger. So you first pre-treat the water, then you irradiate, and then you filter it out, or you post-treat, and then you can allow it to flow. We have estimated that we can get about 2 kilogray, so 100,000 meter cube can be, 1 MLD can be treated very easily. The economics, if you have to, there are 2 factors: reduce the required doses. These experiments we are doing at presently, and this is for which it is also invited Dr. Ramurthy, is to optimize the dose by combining it with conventional treatment, so that you can work with lesser dose, and you improve the efficiency by going to superconducting. So higher efficiency, up to 80% you can get from wall to accelerator power, which results in low current, low cost, high current, high power, more water can be treated. Again, low cost, typical area occupied would be few meters cube, low footprint, again, saving in cost. So the milestones reached so far. This work is a part of a project that has been submitted on our behalf by the Government of India to the Government of Japan under the Science and Technology Research Partnership for Sustainable Development. This is a scheme of the Government of Japan. Under this scheme, the scientists in Japan have also submitted a similar proposal to Japan Science and Technology, agreeing thereby that they will work with us on this project. The project will now be evaluated by Japan Science and Technology, and if approved, would be funded fully by the government of the Japan. It funds only 10 projects worldwide in a year, but we had submitted it last year. There were some lacuna there about a social agency not being part of it. So they had asked us to come again. Now National Mission for Clean Ganga is a part of the proposal and has agreed to put the pilot plant. They have been very kind at Assi Ghat. Samir, which is housed at IIT Bombay, IIT BHU, and Department of Physics BHU are also a part of this proposal. We have already designed the cavity at Mumbai, as I showed it in the figure some earlier. Fabrication would be done in Japan with our collaboration. We should be able to treat about 2 million liters of waters per day. As Assi has a much larger flow, we would be treating only a part of it, so we will have to divert it. National Mission for Clean Ganga has agreed to help us in this and take necessary permission. This is a little bit, I don't want to sound negative at it, but it took me just 2 Skype meetings to convince the Japanese that this project is doable and could be a world game changer on a global scale, not just for India, this thing. The project was evaluated by NITI Aayog and Department of Atomic Energy. They acknowledged that they don't have this technology, the nation does not have it, and it will be very useful to have it. The National Mission for Clean Ganga has acknowledged that this may be much more efficient way of cleaning Ganga than whatever are prevalent missions. As we need, I have made several attempts with Government of India and industrialists. I'm hoping that at some day I will succeed. So advantages, just summarizing, it is compact, so it can fit into narrow lanes. Reliability, these cavities, much higher requirement, 34 million volts, have been tested on test bed round the clock for years. One reference only, the time permitted. It's very efficient and economically and environmentally, it's green and sustainable. There are other applications.
Professor Verma, I think we have just got a complete overview of your tremendous application and creativity in collaborating with the Japanese companies and aligning with the Indian requirements, particularly with the Ganges river, which is contaminated in Banaras. It's been a very high level technical revelation to us in the what next generation technology in the water application is coming, which has always been more construction oriented by the sludge oxidation process, but you have brought a complete revolution with regards to changing in and a more packaging it in a more simpler application way. But of course, the fraternity has to really look into the real technologies and the application. So I congratulate you, Professor Verma, and then we have a
Thank you.
long way to go in getting this launch first as a pilot and then next on a commercial launch, so that we bring about really the next generation application, the wastewater treatment. I thank you, Professor Verma, and we will look forward to connecting with you and then seeing that how this can be more visible to the whole fraternity in the water sector. Thank you.